This simple, unassuming sourdough bread is packed with a secret weapon, caraway seeds. These seeds provide the essential flavor for a deli-style or a caraway rye bread that you might have with a pastrami sandwich. This bread is easy to make and easy to bake, so let me show you how to make it right now. Start off by placing a mixing bowl on your digital scale and adding 300 grams of water to the mixing bowl. Next, add 100 grams of active and risen sourdough starter to the bowl. The night before, I took 25 grams of starter out of the fridge, fed it 50 grams of water and 50 grams of bread flour, and I let it rise overnight until it was doubled in size. So add 100 grams of active and risen sourdough starter to your mixing bowl, and then take the rest of the starter and place it back in the fridge until the next time you want to make sourdough. Then add 10 grams of salt to the mixing bowl. I use kosher salt, but any kind of plain table salt or sea salt will work fine as well. Then break up the starter with a spoon and stir it around a little bit to dissolve the salt and starter into the water. Now for the flours, you'll need a dark rye or whole grain rye flour. This is the one I like to use. Add 75 grams of whole grain rye flour to your mixing bowl. And then get out a bag of plain white bread flour. I usually use the blue bag of King Arthur bread flour, and add 375 grams of bread flour to the mixing bowl. So counting the bread flour that's in the starter, you'll end up with about 15% rye flour in this recipe. So it's not really that much rye, but we still call it rye bread. Mix all of these ingredients together into a dough, and you've just left out the caraway seeds. That's the only ingredient that we're going to be adding later during the stretching and folding process. So once your dough comes together like this, cover it up with a kitchen towel and let the dough rest on the counter at room temperature for 30 minutes. After the 30-minute rest, the dough will have had a chance to relax and it'll now hold together a lot better than before. We're going to do one set of stretch and folds now with no seeds. We'll add those in the next two stretch and folds. So stretch the first corner of dough up in the air and fold it down, then give the dough a quarter turn, and stretch the next corner of the dough up into the air and fold it down over the top of the dough. Give the bowl another quarter turn, then stretch the edge of dough up into the air and fold it over the top of the dough again. And then one last time, give the bowl a quarter turn, stretch the edge of dough up into the air, and fold it over the top of the dough, and press it down so it sticks. Now cover the dough up again with a kitchen towel and let the dough rest at room temperature for 30 minutes. Then 30 minutes later, it's time to start adding the caraway seeds. In total, we're going to be adding 1.5 tablespoons of caraway seeds to this dough. Right now, during the second set of stretch and folds, we're going to be adding 1 tablespoon, and then during the third set of stretch and folds, we're going to be adding half a tablespoon. So uncover your dough and add 1 tablespoon or about 6 grams of raw caraway seeds right on top of your dough. You can sprinkle it right on top. Then dip your fingertips in water and then start dimpling the caraway seeds right into the dough like this. You just want to press the seeds down into the dough so that they don't move when you do the stretching and folding. So to do this set of stretch and folds, it's going to be just like the first one, except you've got seeds on top of the dough. So stretch one corner of the dough up into the air and fold it over the top of the dough and press it down to stick. Then give the dough a quarter turn, stretch an edge of the dough up in the air, and fold it down on top of the dough and press to stick. Then give the dough another quarter turn, stretch the edge up and fold it over the top, and then a last quarter turn, stretch the edge of dough up into the air and fold it over the top. Now you can let the dough rest again, cover it up with a kitchen towel, and let it sit for 30 minutes at room temperature. Now the last set of stretch and folds is probably the easiest one. You just get half a tablespoon of caraway seeds, sprinkle them on top of the dough, then with wet fingertips, dimple the seeds into the dough so that they stick, and then give the dough one more set of stretch and folds where you're stretching and folding each of the 4 corners of the dough. Once that's done, you're ready to move on to the first rise or the bulk fermentation step. Get out a glass bowl with a lid if you have one. I like the 7-cup glass bowl from Pyrex. Drizzle it with a little bit of olive oil to make a nonstick barrier. And transfer the dough so that it's now smooth side up and seam side down inside of the glass bowl. Press the dough down to flatten it and then put the lid on and you're ready for the first rise. Move your dough to your kitchen counter where it can rise at room temperature for 4 to 6 hours or until it doubles in size like this. Once your dough has doubled in size, it's now ready to shape. So to shape this dough into an oval loaf, which would be good for sandwiches, we're going to first pre-shape it into a ball. So gently transfer the dough from the glass bowl onto your kitchen counter. There's no need for any flour on the counter at this point. Just gently release the dough from the sides of the glass bowl and transfer it onto the kitchen counter with the seam side facing down and the smooth side facing up. To pre-shape the dough into a ball, it's fairly easy. Just use your hands or a bench scraper to cup and pull the dough in a circular motion like this. This creates tension across the top of the dough and shapes it into a tight ball. Once your dough is pre-shaped into a round, let it rest on the counter for 30 minutes uncovered. 30 minutes later, when the dough has relaxed, it's now ready to be shaped into an oval. So dust the top with a little bit of bread flour just to create a non-stick barrier. Then to give your bread its final shape, I like to use this 10-inch oval Banneton basket. I'll have a link to the tools I use down below, but any similar Banneton basket will be fine. Just make sure you dust it generously with bread flour. That'll just ensure that your dough doesn't stick to the basket. Now to give your dough its final shape as an oval, I'm going to do a really simple shaping technique. Just flip the dough over so the sticky side is facing up and the floured side is facing down. Then fold the dough into itself so it sticks, just like you're closing a book. Then when the dough sticks together, give the dough a quarter turn so that you can fold it again. And close the dough just like you're closing a book, folding it into itself so that it sticks. Then pinch the dough together to close up that seam, and transfer the dough with the seam side facing up into your Banneton basket. And then if you need to do a little more pinching to close that seam, now is the perfect time. Now your dough should be perfectly shaped in an oval and ready for the second rise or the final proof. So cover up your dough and let it rise at room temperature for 1 hour. That's going to let it get a head start on the fermentation process. After an hour rising at room temperature, the dough won't be fully risen or doubled in size, but it should feel a little bit puffier than it was before. It's got a head start on the fermentation, and it's ready to move to the fridge. So cover your dough up with a kitchen towel and let it rise in the refrigerator for 8 to 24 hours. Pretty much whenever you want to bake it the next day, you can take it out. So the next day, about a half hour before you're ready to bake, preheat your oven to 450 degrees Fahrenheit and make sure your Dutch oven is on the middle rack of your oven to preheat as well. You don't have to do this, but if you put a sheet pan or a baking steel or pizza stone on the bottom rack underneath your Dutch oven, that'll help keep the bottom of the bread from burning. If you ever have a problem with that, put something on the bottom rack. Now once your oven has preheated for 30 minutes, take the dough out of the fridge. It's fine to bake the dough directly from the fridge. It doesn't need to come up to room temperature or anything like that. And you'll probably notice that after at least 8 hours in the fridge, your dough is nice and puffy and ready to bake. To score your dough, just release it gently from the sides of the Banneton basket. Then get a sheet of parchment paper that's slightly larger than your dough and flip the dough over on top of the parchment paper. Brush the excess flour off of the top of the dough, and then get out a razor blade or a bread lom, like this one I've got here, and holding the blade at a shallow angle, cut one long slash from the far end of the dough to the near end. This one long slash is my usual scoring technique. It's almost the only thing I do, and it allows the dough to burst open during the first half of the baking time, right along that score mark, ideally leaving a beautiful flipped up edge of the dough that's a little bit crustier than the other areas surrounding it. So this is the scoring technique I like to use, but you can score your bread however you want. With your oven preheated, transfer the dough, parchment paper and all, right into the bottom of the hot Dutch oven. This will work with any type of Dutch oven, by the way. You don't have to use this one. As long as the dough fits, it will work. Close the lid of the Dutch oven to trap the steam and bake your bread for 20 minutes at 450 degrees Fahrenheit. Then 20 minutes later, the bake is about half done. You can remove the Dutch oven lid to release that steam, and you can admire your oven spring. If everything has gone well, your dough should have burst open beautifully along that score mark. Now with the lid off, keep baking the bread for 15 more minutes at 450. And after 35 minutes of total baking time, your bread should be completely cooked through and beautifully golden brown on the outside. Transfer your baked bread onto a cooling rack and allow it to cool for at least an hour before you slice in. An hour later, I was ready for the taste test, so I really quickly sliced through my bread and revealed the crumb, or the inside of the bread. It's a nice, soft, airy, closed crumb if you care about those kind of aesthetics, but the smell of this bread is what really sets it apart. As the bread is baking, the caraway seeds toast in the oven, and they just have a really delicious aroma. It's the smell that I most associate with rye bread, even though the smell is just caraway seeds. It has nothing to do with rye flour. It's just that where I'm from, this is what we usually call rye bread, a regular wheat bread with some rye flour and caraway seeds. Whenever we're out for breakfast, my dad always orders toasted rye bread, bread, so this one's for you, Dad. The toasting caramelizes the bread, making it sweeter, and the heat brings out even more toasted caraway flavor. I recommend you enjoy the sourdough deli rye bread with some kind of savory topping. Just plain butter is fine on top of the toasted bread, or of course a pastrami sandwich or a roast beef sandwich would be great options too. Check out the written recipe in the video description, and I'll see you in the next video.